Okay, so let's look at mixed charts. These are not very common, but it's very possible that you get them. Students tend to think that they're very difficult. They're not. It's just two mini charts, as I'll show you. Before we start, I've added another document in the description, which is this one. It's just got 1, 2, 3, 4 mixed charts for you to practice on. I was going to do this one today, but I want to focus quite a lot on noun phrases today as well as mixed charts. And this one, the noun phrases are actually the same: water use, water consumption. So there's noun phrase 1 for that one, noun phrase 1 for that one is the same. Use and consumption are the same. And I'd like to do this one because we actually run into a couple of problems with the noun phrases when we're doing these pie charts. And in today's video, I also want to start looking at what you can do when the three noun phrase system causes problems or doesn't work. I will make a separate video on that when the three noun phrase system doesn't work, but I'd like to start on it today, introduce it. Alright, so what do you do with mixed charts? The main thing with mixed charts is that they're just two smaller task ones, just two mini task ones. You can even see it from the question. There's a normal question like we normally had, and then there's another one. So it's just exactly the same thing as we've always been doing. It's just that there's two of them in one task one. Now, people might talk to you about trying to find a connection between the charts. And in my experience, that is very rare when there is some kind of a connection between the charts. Of course, if it's there, you should point it out, but most mixed charts, there's no connection between them. They're just two separate charts. So let's get going with this Ashdown Museum one. First of all, paraphrase. Table below shows, so the table what provides data on, provides information about number of visitors to Ashdown Museum. This is the part that you're kind of going to paraphrase, and I often suggest seeing if you can do how much or how many in this part. It's a nice way to paraphrase, and then just the normal preposition phrases. Chart show, same thing. Results of a survey, how satisfied they were. Maybe that one we can go and get this noun phrase. This is noun phrase 1 for this. So before we paraphrase, maybe we should just look at our noun phrases. Noun phrases can help you with the paraphrase. So maybe pause the video, this is with mixed charts. You do noun phrases for this one and noun phrases for this one. They're not necessarily the same. They're usually different. So pause the video and take a look, see what you would do. It's quite easy to spot them because they are actually there and there. So the table, noun phrase 1, visitor numbers. That was from noun phrase 2, and noun phrase 2 was there. Number of visitors, there's noun phrase 2. So that becomes noun phrase 2, visitor numbers, noun phrase 1, the number of people who visited the museum. Quite straightforward. And then also they gave you noun phrase 1 for this one, visitor satisfaction, satisfaction of visitors, percentage of visitors who were satisfied. So far so good. As you will see, we will run into problems here because they've put the noun as a category. Satisfaction here is in the category, and this causes problems. They've changed it into an adjective here, but let's do that later. Let's quickly just get on with our paraphrase. So I would say something like the table provides information about how many people visited the museum, and this you don't have to paraphrase too much. It was refurbished. I would change to the noun, which is refurbishment. So it would look something like this. Table provides information on how many people visited Ashdown Museum in the years before and after refurbishment. If you couldn't change this, don't worry about it. It's just a little bit extra. And then they use two separate sentences here, so I'll change it into one sentence. You can say comma, you must say comma, but I could say while or and. I think while is quite nice. And what do we see? The pie charts provide results of survey asking questions how satisfied they were with their visit. It's a bit, provide the results of a survey on visitor satisfaction. Take noun phrase 1 and put it in there. Maybe you can, if you want, you can use one of these because we're actually not going to use them later, so use it in the paraphrase. So I would go something like this. Well, the pie charts provide data from a survey on visitor satisfaction. So I've just taken there's noun phrase 1. Survey, maybe you can say questionnaire, but survey is fine. Don't have to paraphrase everything. Great. Now, overviews. Overall, it can be seen that. And then we're going to choose, well, let's just look at our table. Very simple table, just 2 numbers. Well, let's just check this. So there's 1 number, 2 numbers, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So over everything is 12 numbers. That's the most common number of numbers for these charts. So we're going to say all 12 numbers. Anyway, this first one is before refurbishment, 74,000 people. 92,000 people afterwards. So let's choose noun phrase 3, a nice big one to start with our overview. The number of people who visited the museum. Now you can say increased. Right, overall it can be seen that. So now we need to look at our data over here. And you're going to do 2 separate overviews. You don't have to do one big overview connecting it all up. Just an overview for this, an overview for this. The number of people who visited the museum increased. Simple overview. That's fine, no problem. And what else can we see? And then you need to study this a little bit. While you're studying it, just make sure whenever you get a pie chart, just check that these numbers add up to 100. 40 plus 30 plus 10 plus 5 plus 15 equals 100. So therefore this is a percentage. So we can say percentage. Same with this one. And generally if we look at it, you can see very satisfied increased. Then I would draw some arrows here. Draw arrow up. Satisfied increased, arrow up. Dissatisfied decreased, and very dissatisfied decreased. No response, stayed the same, but we don't need that for our overview. So the satisfaction increased, the dissatisfaction decreased, so that means overall the satisfaction increased. So I think I'll just use this noun phrase 1. And visitor satisfaction increased. But because I said increased over here, I should put also over there. It just makes it sound better. You don't say this increased and this increased. It's better to say this increased and this also increased. And let's throw in one of our adverbs. Now I've mentioned the period there, so I can say over the same period. And that's all it is. It's just 2 separate overviews. Now there is this big argument about saying, is there a connection between these 2 and should we mention it? So if you were to try and find a connection, you would have to say that the increase was the result of the increased satisfaction. But you don't know that. Maybe the increase was because of some other reason. So there's no connection between these 2. Maybe the increase was because of better advertising. Who knows? So there's no connection. Right, then we're onto the table. Looking at the table in more detail, it is clear that. Looking at the table in more detail, I said it can be seen that. Then we're going to choose one of these. I will use noun phrase 3 again because it's nice and it's the last time I'm going to use it. Only going to use it once here. So it can be seen that, and there's our noun phrase for the subject of the sentence, subject of the clause. Now we want our verb. You can say increased, it's fine. But I like to try and use stood at whenever I can. Stood at 74,000 before refurbishment. I've used a comma there because they used a comma there. Just do what they do. So that's fine, but I like, can you think of a paraphrase for before, which is a bit nicer? Prior to. That's even nicer than before, okay? And the reason that I like to use stood at this structure is because then we can say and this number, which gives us a relative reference pronoun. And this figure and this number increased, rose, grew to 92,000 after, you could say after refurbishment or after it was refurbished. Great, then we're done with that. Now we're onto the pie chart, and as I mentioned, then we're going to have problems with a couple of these noun phrases. This one is fine, the percentage of visitors who were very satisfied. But the problem comes in that they've used the noun phrase in the actual category, and they've changed it to an adjective, and they've used the word very, and that makes problems because we can't, and the word very there is very important because it makes the difference between the categories. So we can't say, for example, visitor very satisfaction or very satisfaction of visitors. So it makes problems with these two, and as a result I'm just not going to use them, and I'm going to try some other strategies, and this way I can introduce these strategies for what do you do when you can't use some of the noun phrases. So let's just delete those. We're not going to use them. We are going to use this one. It's fine because we can put very adjective after our verb to be here, not a problem. So let's use that one at first. Turning to the pie chart, or moving on to the pie charts. Noun phrase, the percentage of visitors who were very satisfied, and then just keep it simple, increased from 15 to 35% before to that after. Great, no problem, keeping it simple. Next is satisfied from 30% to 40%. And now I'm just going to introduce this document. I'll use this document more when I do a video on, I'm going to do a whole video on what to do when the noun phrases don't work, but I'm just introducing it here. So the first strategy I want to teach with this is see if you can play around with noun phrase 3 and do something else. And I've added it over here. We can change visitors who were very satisfied to very satisfied visitors. It's not noun phrase 3 anymore, but it's still useful. It's a kind of variation of noun phrase 3. You can't always do it. It's just the first strategy that I want you to try is see if you can change noun phrase 3 into something else. So anyway, let's use that one. We can use some linking language similarly because it's also increased. And then the percentage of satisfied visitors as our noun phrase. And then instead of saying increase, let's say grew. Grew from 30% to 40%. Fine. Right, now we've got 3 more categories and we don't have any more noun phrases, so I'm just going to use this one again. Don't worry about using things again. Students think you can only do things once. It's not a problem. But I'm going to try and combine them into one sentence and use the word respectively. So you can you need 2 noun phrases, but you can use one noun phrase and put the data into one sentence. Try to combine 2 sentences into one using respectively. That way you just use one noun phrase as the subject for 2 sentences. So it eliminates the need for an extra noun phrase. Linking language, we're decreasing now, let's say in contrast. Actually, I think I'm just going to use this one because it's a bit shorter and smaller, and we're going to have a long sentence, a respectively sentence here. So just trying to keep it a bit shorter to make it easier to understand. So it's going to be like the percentage of dissatisfied visitors and very dissatisfied visitors decreased. And then from this to this and this to this respectively. From 40% to 15% and from 10% to 5%, comma, respectively. Great. And then the last one is no response. And now this is a problem. They very often do this when they have all of these categories. They change the noun, the word form of one of them. This is satisfied, satisfied, dissatisfied. These are all adjectives. No response, a response is a noun. And they do it often just to test you, to see that you recognize it and to see that you can work with it differently. So now how do you say this? You can't say who were no response. That's what students will do, I know. But you can't do it like that. You can't do it with in the same way that you used it when it was an adjective. So it's the percentage of people who, we're talking past simple, we want a negative. So when you do past simple in the negative, you must say what? You must say did not. You must introduce the word did. The percentage of people who did not respond. Change it to a verb. Be careful of that. They often change the word forms of these. The percentage of visitors who did not respond. That's how you want to do that. Let's just say to the survey. At least we can mention the survey. And then you can say stayed the same, but I prefer to say remained unchanged at 5%. Great, and that's that. All done very nicely, very high score. Easy band 8. If you make 0 grammar mistakes, students are always asking me, what can I get if I write it like this? You can get 8 or 9 if you write it like this. It depends how many grammar mistakes and vocabulary mistakes you make. But the CC, there's no problem, and we've got all of our numbers here, so TR, no problem. So you can get 8 plus if you write it like this. Let me just show you the structure with some colors. Here's the table there, and here's the pie chart, and there, and that paragraph. And that's the basic structure of these mixed charts. You've joined those with conjunctions, while and. One paragraph for that, one paragraph for that. And that's how you do mixed charts. Now, before we finish, I just want to mention one more possibility. We did noun phrase 4, I think in one of the tables, and it was just a number and a noun. Or if it's a percentage and a noun. So you could have used noun phrase 4. This is one of the strategies to use when the 3 noun phrases don't work, is use noun phrase 4. It looks like a very simple noun phrase, so students might ask, why don't I teach it in the beginning as one part of 1, 2, and 3? And it's because students just make a lot of mistakes with it. They will say 75% of very satisfied increased. They'll get all very confused. But if you're having problems with 1, 2, 3, then try 4. So you could have gone, so we're doing percentage, 75% of visitors were very satisfied. 75% of visitors were very satisfied before refurbishment, and 15% of visitors were very satisfied before refurbishment, and 35% were very satisfied after refurbishment. You could have used that, but we'll look at that again when I do this other video. Okay, so as you can see, it's not difficult. It's just 2 mini task 1s. You're doing exactly the same. You're just doing it 1 paragraph for the one chart, 1 paragraph for the other chart. Alright, great. Thank you very much. I hope it helped. If it did help, please remember to click like and to subscribe. Later on, I'll do some more of these mixed charts, but I've got lots of videos to make before then. But you can get a lot of practice with these and see if you can get people to help you to check them on Facebook or wherever. Thank you very much.